I do want to kind of circle back to what happened on Monday night. What we watched on Monday Night Football as the Raiders open up their brand new, gorgeous Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. And they upset the Saints. And coming out of that game, the discussion was about Drew Brees. Is he washed? Is he done? Is it over? Because coming into the year, the Saints were still viewed as the Super Bowl contender. They still had a great roster. Still picked, for the most part, to win the NFC South. And one of those teams you circle with the Seahawks, with the 49ers, that, yeah, they are legitimate Super Bowl threats. They're one of the teams to beat in the NFC. Monday night, Drew Brees, the numbers themselves look good. 26 of 38, 312 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Game 1 against the Buccaneers, 160 yards, 2 touchdowns. But to me, watching what we did the first 2 weeks, knowing the history of Drew Brees' last few years, I come out of Monday night's game confirming. I had my doubts and I had my thoughts. Monday night's performance confirmed to me that if Drew Brees is the Saints quarterback the rest of the year, if he is their quarterback in the playoffs, they cannot win a Super Bowl. They cannot win a Super Bowl with Drew Brees as the starting quarterback for the Saints. Now, I want to throw this disclaimer out there before I get into it more. But I'm not saying Drew Brees is washed up. I'm not saying he's going to have a terrible rest of the year. The Saints are 1-1. Again, he threw for 312 yards. Now, it's misleading a little bit, but his stature is still going to be there. The Saints are still going to win games. Their roster is incredibly talented, and they'll still make the playoffs. But when it comes to making the playoffs, when it comes to trying to win big games late in the season, I don't trust and I don't think Drew Brees is the quarterback to get it done. A few reasons. Number one, like I said, I had my doubts coming into this year, and here's what I mean by that. The last few years, Drew Brees is 41 years old. The last few years, Drew Brees has run out of gas and hasn't been able to up his play to help the Saints beat teams they should beat and get to the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl. Let's go back to really where I first noticed it, 2018, 2 years ago. Drew Brees, his first 11 games back in 2018, threw for 285 yards a game and 2.6 touchdowns per game. That was his average over 11 games. You get to December, that last month of the season, that he went from 285 yards per game to 214. He went from 2.6 touchdowns per game to just 0.75. And guess what? That December slog carried into the postseason. 20 points versus the Eagles, and there were one Alshon Jeffrey drop pass that led to an interception away from maybe losing that game. Nick Foles had the Eagles driving in the dome in the fourth quarter. And if Alshon Jeffrey catches that pass, maybe the Eagles and Nick Foles pull it out again. You win that game. They scored 23 points versus the Rams. And let's not forget this fact. We all point to the missed pass interference call that could have won the Saints the game, right? The missed pass interference call would have gave the Saints a first down. They could have ran out the clock, kicked a field goal, and gave the Rams I think it was about 20 seconds to try to tie the game. Almost an impossible situation for the Rams. Obviously, as we know, flag not thrown. Rams have time. They kick the game-tying field goal, send the game to overtime. But what happened in overtime? Nobody talks about what happened in overtime. The Saints won the toss, got the ball. You score a touchdown, your team is going to the Super Bowl. Instead, what happened? Drew Brees threw a pick. This man threw an interception in overtime, in part to lose the game. We all talk about it, and we all point to the missed pass interference call. Drew Brees, ball in his hand, chance to win the game in overtime, threw an interception. Let's go to 2019, last year. It was almost a blessing in disguise. The second game of the year when he hurt his thumb in Los Angeles against the Rams. He missed 5 games, and when he came back, he looked fresh. He looked rejuvenated. He looked young again. So that December looked good. Never forget him going 29 of 30, I believe it was, against the Colts, torching them on a Monday night game in December. But those 5 games, again, he looked rejuvenated in December. What happened in January? What happened in the playoffs? Wild card weekend. Drew Brees throws for 208 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He lost at home in the playoffs to Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, in overtime, throws a bomb to Adam Thielen. There was a lob, nice corner back of the end zone pass to Kyle Rudolph to win the game on your turf. In the Dome, you are outdueled by Kirk Cousins, Mr. Choke Job himself. So there's no reason to believe the last 2 years when Drew Brees has run out of gas, at the end of the year in the playoffs, that at 41, he'll be able to stay fresh and ready to carry the Saints, not just to the playoffs, through the playoffs. I have no confidence. Now he's coming into the year. Now 2 games in, coming off that Monday night game, that arm strength is a real concern. Because 2 games in, Drew Brees has turned into Captain Checkdown. Go watch the Monday night game again. He threw for 312 yards, right? The stats still look good. 26 completions. So the completion percentage was high. The yards were high. But all those yards came after the catch. It was dink and dunk. It was drop-offs to Alvin Kamara, who made some nice runs after the catch. It was drop-offs to tight ends, wide receivers running underneath. He did not throw the ball down the field. And people can use the excuse Michael Thomas wasn't playing. Number 1 wide receiver, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, he was out, right? High ankle sprain. That doesn't prevent Drew Brees from throwing the ball down the field because Michael Thomas is not a downfield threat. He is a great possession wide receiver. 10 yards, 15 yards, you throw the ball up in his radius, he'll catch it no matter what. Some of the best hands in all the NFL. But he's not one of those burners down the field. He's not one of those guys that you worry about taking the top off the defense every single play. And the brand new addition of Emmanuel Sanders, just 1 catch. No Michael Thomas. The second best receiver on the team, Emmanuel Sanders, 1 catch. So you look at it, if Drew Brees is going to dink and dunk all year now, because he's already doing it 2 games in. So if the arm strength isn't there, he doesn't trust his deep ball accuracy, he doesn't trust his arm strength to get the ball down the field. You're not winning playoff games dinking and dunking, I'm sorry. Let's look at the NFC. Russell Wilson throwing the ball all over the yard, lighting up every defense so far, playing like an MVP. Tom Brady and the Buccaneers showed improvement from game 1 to game 2, and I believe as the season goes on, they get more comfortable with each other, the continuity will increase, and Tom Brady will fit into this Bruce Arians downfield threat offense. So I think the Buccaneers offense will continue to get better, and they'll push the ball down the field. So if the Saints want to win, they're not going to do so by dinking and dunking. Which means what I teased earlier. What is the one change the Saints can do to give themselves a shot at winning the Super Bowl? You know what it is? It's on their roster already. Starting Jameis Winston. At some point. Not week 3. Maybe not even week 10. But Sean Payton has to seriously consider putting the former number 1 overall pick, the turnover machine himself, Jameis Winston, at quarterback. Because Drew Brees has not been able to get done in the playoffs the last few years. And if he's already dinking and dunking in week number 2, when he's supposed to be at his best, when he's supposed to be his healthiest, his freshest, you're in big trouble. So just think, Jameis Winston, before you call me crazy, on a 1-year deal. So this, in theory, is the only shot so far that that Sean Payton, head coach of the Saints, has at seeing what he has in Jameis Winston. And as Drew Brees, to me, continues to play the way he is, which is struggling, this team is ready to win a Super Bowl right now. This defense is the best it's going to be. The offense is the best it's going to be. This team is a legitimate, real quarterback away from winning a Super Bowl. And I do believe Jameis Winston will benefit greatly from Sean Payton. And I think Sean Payton can get a lot out of Jameis Winston. Let's not forget, Jameis Winston has a lot of arm talent. He makes some phenomenal throws. His biggest issue is the stupid mistakes he makes. I do think Sean Payton is the right coach to give Jameis a lot of good throws, try to flush out a lot of those bad decisions, and be a real contender with Jameis Winston. So if the Saints want to win a Super Bowl this year, which, I mean, that seems to be the goal. Isn't that the goal for really, that should be the goal for every team every year. But the Saints, especially this year, Drew Brees comes back for one last ride. He's not getting it done. Sean Payton owes it to the rest of the team, the other 52 men on that roster, to put them in the best position to succeed, the best position to win a Super Bowl. In my mind, that is starting Jameis Winston. That is making Jameis Winston your starting quarterback at some point before the playoffs, because even if Drew Brees turns it around, even if he plays a lot better than he did on Monday night, and really the first 2 weeks, because he said, and Sean Payton said after the game on Monday night, the offense has not been in sync the first 2 weeks. So even if the offense does get in sync, even if they turn it around, Drew Brees has shown he has run out of gas in the playoffs. He cannot get it done the last few years. So you're going to have to seriously consider putting Jameis Winston as your starting quarterback, and I believe that should be the case. Whether it's 2 weeks from now, 5 weeks from now, even 10 weeks from now. You got to give Jameis Winston a shot here to lead this team and make them a real threat. Because right now, with the way Drew Brees is playing, this team is not a threat. This team is not a legitimate Super Bowl contender. Because Drew Brees is holding the offense back. So I'm curious your thoughts. 1, can the Saints, in your mind this year, still win a Super Bowl with Drew Brees as their quarterback? Should they consider Jameis Winston at some point? And can the Saints win a Super Bowl with Jameis Winston as their starting quarterback? I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Worldwide Sports Radio Network on Facebook, WWSRN_radio on Twitter, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter. I say yes. Put Jameis in. Talk about another guy, what I just said before, a brand new quarterback market. Number 1 overall pick. 5 years, didn't work out in Tampa Bay, turned the ball over too much. This is a guy in Sean Payton who got a number 1 overall pick with a ton of arm talent on the cheap, on a discount. Imagine what he can do if Jameis Winston's on the field.